Asafodu. I'm a business strategy consultant and a data specialist. If you have been following my YouTube channel, I've been interviewing the gurus in Power BI. Today, I'm very much excited with my interviewee. He's in the person of Oscar Martinez. I love his part because it's similar to the part I took in business intelligence. So today's interview is going to be very chatty, and I guess you're going to learn so much from that, especially those from the finance background. Welcome, Oscar.
Hey, hello, Evan. Thanks a lot. Thanks for having me here in
All
your
right.
program, your recording.
Okay, so Oscar is a former corporate treasurer. I would leave him to tell us about his background. So, Oscar, tell us about your background and how you got probably into as a BI consultant.
Yeah, so not to make the story very long. I started working I started my career as a trainee in finance for a Swiss company. You know about this Swiss company, being an electrical engineer yourself. You know about ABB. So I started over there as a finance trainee. I was around 7 years working for ABB, where my last position was treasury manager for the local subsidiary of ABB Mexico.
Okay.
After this, I moved to a different company. This was a Mexican company, which was bigger in terms of the locally in Mexico. It was a bigger company. It is a bigger company. And this company was going through an important transformation process. Uh, this company is very strong on engineering. They do automotive parts. The name of the company is Rossini, but they were also looking for a revamp on their finance team, right? So I joined Rossini, and one of the things that I first realized when I joined Rossini was like, oh my God, where are my reports? You know, when I was in ABB, it was really easy going to a system that existed at that
Everything.
time,
Yeah.
ABB, just do some clicks, and then I had my reports, right? And they're like, but I was lucky enough to have a very supporting management team, and also the CEO who was really forward looking, right? So I started clicking around. This was 2016, and I found Power BI, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? Oh, Power BI, yeah, bro, this is what I need. Okay, it's Microsoft, so we are on the safe side, you know, because you also have to think about governance, right, and and
Yeah.
this kind of things. It's Microsoft, so we are kind of in the safe side, right?
Yeah.
So I start clicking around, and I would say that there was a very important day that I was doing some treasury reports. At this time, my position was corporate treasurer of the company, which also has presence, global presence, right? So I was doing some reports in Power BI, and at this time, the CEO of the company approached my office. He wanted to ask something treasury related, and then he looked at my screen and he said, like, "Hey, what is that?" And I said, like, "Yeah, yeah, it's Power BI. It's something very new." And he was like, "Oh, I want that." And I went on my cell phone. Can I? Yeah, yeah, yeah. Actually, that's one of the things. And he like, "Oh, okay, I want it." So all of a sudden, I was treasury corporate treasurer, but I was also in charge of starting a BI initiative in the company, right?
Company.
So yeah, yeah. So I had like two hats, right? Like this treasury thing, but also on the BI side, which was kind of weird. I was in this company for about 2 years,
All
two
right.
and a
Let me
half
stop you
years.
right there.
Yes, of
So,
course.
you saw a problem in your new company that you
Yes.
joined, and with your understanding of what you learned at ABB, there needed to be systems for reporting. However, the new company did not have, and you took advantage of that to search and find a solution to it. After which, your CEO then saw that it was a good solution, and then you then transitioned in a way midway in your career to hold two
Yeah.
portfolios as a treasurer as well as a BI head of the BI initiative, right?
Yeah, so this was really informal, you know. It was it's one of the nice things of working in a really close to the head that decisions happen very quick. And it just happened in my office over there. So yeah, I had like this. Obviously, my treasury was my main function. But then it was then I think that I was very lucky. Uh, I was very lucky
You're
because
very blessed.
this. Yes, very blessed. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Because this company was really willing to accept these changes. So the CEO, Mr. Madero, he's a person who's always forward looking, you know, and really, really well accepting. Also, my boss, the CFO at the time, they are people who are open to new technologies and spending on new technologies and these kind of things. They are not really worried about that. They are more worrying about this being disrupted
Disrupted
than
in the business.
being. Yeah, yeah, definitely. They are worried about disrupting and being disrupted than spending some money on technology, which at the end, I think that's the only way that you can be sure, not be sure, you can lessen the
The risk.
probability of the risk of being disrupted.
Exactly. I mean,
There will always be the risk, you know.
you have to be prepared, at least so as you know that it was not any fault of yours. You actually
Yes.
went out. All right. So after, so that means you are somebody who is proactive and always looking for solutions, and that brought you a new career. So after that, what happened?
So we moved back to Switzerland. My wife, she's from here, and that's when I told my wife, you know, I probably don't want to go back in the finance path. I want to search a career on the BI side. So I started searching for a job in the BI. I had a major block, right? So the major block that I had was that, well, if you look at my CV, first 10 years is pure finance, right? And it was like this guy who's 10 years in finance and now is like asking for a job as something BI. I was like, yeah, but I really know this. But then I was then again blessed enough to find Cereviso. Cereviso is a consultancy company that one of the things that the CEO cares a lot is that the consultants have business knowledge. You know, it's like in my case, when talking to customers, I have paid an invoice. I have gone into the banks and I have had to understand record the end-to-end processes, purchase to pays, record to report, all these things, you know. So when talking to customers, I think that brings a lot of value because you're not the strongest, you don't have the strongest IT background, but as you really understand how the processes and the pain points are and where the pain points are, and then they tell you, yeah, but the invoices they are not approved, and it's like, yeah, yeah, I've been there, you know, and then so that creates a better synergy with the customers, you know, because they don't have to explain you anything and they know that you have faced a lot of these issues. So I think that brings a lot of value. So yeah, I was blessed enough to find this work in Cerviso, and ever since, yeah, probably right now it will be 3 years that I fully went into business intelligence
Wow.
side since, yeah.
It's interesting with the career path from, I mean, previous MVPs and gurus have interviewed on my channel. It looks as if a lot of the BI consultants stamped into business intelligence in their course of their work. And it's not been so many years, but they've done a lot. Like what you talking about, just 3 years into business intelligence as a professional. Yet you are
Yeah.
doing so much and amazing things, even with the community, the whole BI community, which you started the Power. platform community. We'll talk about that later. But for now, let's focus on
I
the
think
Power
that
BI.
the community is wonderful. So yeah, let's go back just a little bit in also in time, right? So this was 2016. Power BI was really new. There was like a little bit of a switch, right, in this year 2015, 16, because I don't know if you remember that Power BI started being a part of
A
Excel,
tab
right?
in Excel, yeah.
Like an add-on in Excel, right?
Yeah,
So it was Power Pivot and these
pivot.
Power Views, and the Power BI name was here and there, but really the ribbon name was Power View. I think that it was the
Yeah,
ribbon, the name of the ribbon within Excel, right?
yeah.
So, and then all of a sudden in 2016, they decided to make a standalone product, right? And but it was fairly new. There was not like today the community has done amazing things
So nice.
in YouTube channels, blogs, and everything. But this point, Microsoft partnered with edX, and we've talked about this, right? And
Yeah,
and this was the point when they created the famous EDX 207, right? Analyzing and visualizing data with
with
Power BI.
Power BI. Yeah.
And I think that yeah, we both took it, and I met like a lot of people who took this. Right now, you cannot take this training because it's being
No.
discontinued. But I think that many of us, I think that many of the people who have more experience with Power BI started with
Yeah.
this training with this 207, right?
Yes.
Analyzing and visualizing data with Power
I
BI.
think almost everyone started with that. It's today that there's D800, but I mean, all the
Yes.
gurus and old guys started with the ADX 207.
And then it was matched with the 206, which was analyzing and visualizing data with Excel,
With
right?
Excel, yeah.
So, and if you did the two, you get like other kind of certificate from
Certificate.
edX, right?
Yeah.
Like professional. But then these two exams were also the base to two trainings to get the MCSA certification, which again is not available anymore, which
Yeah.
was a Microsoft Certificate Solutions Associate in BI reporting, right?
Yeah.
So it was
So
yeah.
with such a background, you were able to get a job just with only those certificates?
I I will say that I was very lucky, blessed again. So management of the company of this service or consultancy companies really looks that consultants have business knowledge. So me having a strong, I would say very strong finance background with also BI experience helped me. I don't think all companies are like that, unfortunately. But I think that every time is more and more people jumping from a function to a BI thing.
All right. So how easy was it? I mean, you were a finance guy for the past 10 to 15 years, and then you decide one day to transition, especially moving, switching countries, and then you decide to, how difficult or easy was it? Did friends discourage you? Like, how easy or difficult was it in transition and getting a job with Power BI and making a
So I
career out of it?
I I would say that first, obviously the people that I knew, they start telling me, yeah, I just in Switzerland you can find a job. There are a lot of banks. The finance industry is very strong. You know a lot of the banking industry because my treasury job, obviously most of the interaction is with banks. Uh, but and I have friends also in banks that told me, don't worry, if you we can try to find you some hints with some banks that we can help you with trying to find a job. And I was like, no, I don't want a job in. But then there was something else. uh, I will go back to Racini, the automotive company. one of the things that the management takes care of is that, or the CEO takes care, is that the management team is really, really forward looking
Mhm.
to disruption, new ideas, technologies. So this was 2016, right? And I was,
Yeah.
so he worries that the management team uh, knows all these trends in technology and everything, right? And all this. So I started being really involved in this one, in these
BI.
trends and everything. No, I start looking how the pace of automation, even more in the finance industry. So one of the things that I realized was that my job in treasury was going to be automated, definitely. So it was like, come on, everything that I do will be automated in 10 years. So I better run now. I better run now. I decided I will not be replaced by an automated machine. And this was this was this was just this was 2016, so all these
Wow.
technologies were not still, but in the company they were already doing some scenarios of robotics process automation. And as you were over there and you were looking at this OCR recognition, like with related robotic process automation and all these things, and I was like, my God, my work is clicking. I at least all the transactional part of treasury is definitely gone. All the transactional part of treasury will be gone, you know. Uh, so then I was like, so in this point, it was not hard for me. I really like BI, and I really thought that I should move to a less to area that
Less risk in
less
disruption.
risk of being automated,
All right.
to so it was not that hard to make the decision. I would say that also God bless me with a wonderful wife who support me and have always supported me. So she said like, yeah, what the hell? I already find. So she said like, I already got a job, so you can go on. If it takes a little bit longer for you to find a job, it's fine. So yeah, and I was also blessed enough to find this service of the company,
So
So
it's a combination of what you felt was happening and some blessings from God, and things worked in your favor. So
yes,
you began to work in BI. That's very interesting.
my my dad always puts it in two ways when it comes to career development success. My dad always says that it's the mix of being prepared and being luck and preparedness, luck or
Okay.
blessings, depending on how you want to
You
say it,
look
right?
at
So
it. Yeah.
luck or blessings and preparedness. Also, by this time, I already have trained. I was already certified as MCSA certified, So I was searching for a job. I didn't have like really experience in the job, but I was already certified. I already got the MCSA certification. So let's say that I was not really unprepared. I was already trained
Already
for
prepared.
it.
All right.
Yeah. So and then the obviously the chances, that I got to find a company that I was fine looking for someone with my profile. So
So you start building dashboard in Racine, and then when you move to Switzerland, then you realize that, I mean, the industry you are is likely to be disrupted, at least some there's transactional aspects of it. So it was easier now to just metamorphosize into business intelligence using Power BI as your base. I mean, so what would be your advice to finance professionals, especially knowing what is happening now in the finance industry with business intelligence? What would you tell them to do in times like these? Or what would be your
I
advice to anybody who wants to take your part of, not because of the trends that are happening, I need to add something up so as I'm not disrupted out of my job?
Yes, I is either disrupt or being disrupted, right? So
Yeah.
I would recommend that people gets to train into new technology. It doesn't have to be Power BI. It doesn't even have to be the Power Platform. That's the one that I chose, but you definitely have to upskill, you know. And at the end, I think that it will benefit yourself, people. You know, for example, if you go and study Power Automate, there are like so many activities that people do on a daily basis that it's the same activity every day, just automate it, you know, and it will help you spending more time somewhere else, whatever it is that you prefer. So I would say that obviously I would really recommend to train on the Power Platform. I specialize in Power BI and I know a lot about Power Automate, but I've seen these wonderful things that people do with Power Apps and virtual agents and all these things, you know. So I would definitely recommend that. And then one of the wonderful things about the Power Platform is the community. I say that
We're all enthused about the community, so we would spend some time talking about the Power Platform community.
it's so easy to learn. There are always so many resources. There is so many channels to learn from. So many people willing to teach. So many blogs written. I would say that Power Platform is an easy way of upskilling.
Mm.
I don't say that there are not others. You know, I'm fully aware that there are others. This is the one that I know the
That's the
best. You know,
bias. So
yeah.
I think that the advice is that make sure that to stay relevant in the industry, upskill, look for newer technologies that are happening, and start solving problems in your business. Once you are solving the problems with these technologies, you would learn on the job and then identify which area will be best for you. Like he's talking about the Power Platform. Those who are not conversant with it, it's a collection of power tools that Microsoft has given, including Power BI with the, as a hat, with Power Automate, and a lot of other power functions that you could use in your business. It's all about enhancing business operations and making work easier and decisions taken faster. Because Microsoft has this idea of data anywhere, everywhere by anyone. So, by the whole point is that we would need data in the coming years and people would have to work on it. So, if you could improve on your skill, upskill, so that you are not disrupted. Um, Oscar.
You have summarized this beautifully. Yes.
So I think the next thing I will talk about is, I mean, very few people in this world relearn something that they've learned already. After going through the 207, 206, and the MCA, you've recently decided to relearn Power BI from the scratch, especially enrolling with the gurus, the super gurus of Power BI, Marco Russo and Alberto Ferreira of the SQL BI fame. Um, what actually motivated you to do a relearning? And if you could share with what you've learned so far, so as new
Yes.
beginners with Power BI can learn from that.
I so I yes I decided to relearn DAX. So most of my learning in DAX is it was on the go. You know, yes, obviously with edX 206 and 207, I learned a lot, but then upskilling and it was on the go. You know, you don't know how to make a measure and you Google it, right? How to make
So
this.
just for my viewers who don't understand the DAX, DAX is data analysis expression. It is um, the language of Power BI itself that helps you do amazing things with analytics. I mean, you
Yes,
cannot be a business intelligence guy who does not master DAX. So that's what
it's a lot.
Oscar is talking about.
Yeah, so you learn a lot by googling it, right? But
Yeah.
then I put this as when I was in university and I knew how to swim, right? I thought that I knew how to swim, but then I got a really important lesion on my shoulder, and then I got to real school for swimming. Like in the university, we have a coach, and he taught me so many things that I was doing wrong. You know, it was like you are not doing. That's why you hurt yourself, because you were not doing it the proper way. No, and so that's the importance of formal learning, because there is these people who actually knows to explain well the basics, so you can later outperform, overperform in your normal activity. So I thought that I knew how to swim, right? But then and probably I was a person
You
who
are
would not
doing.
drown.
Yes, you could not
I
drown.
could swim
You're
in
swimming.
open sea, on the beach, and I could do a lot of things, right? But then I got a coach, and my speeds were better. My lesions were start. I start not having lesions, you know, in my body and this kind of stuff. So I put it the same way. Sometimes you learn on the go, and then you stop learning the basics. So then I started this, and I started going through the SQL BI learning path, right? And I started writing a story, which is developing this story that I am writing about what I'm learning. I think that Alberto and Marco, they explain some concepts which will save you a lot of headaches in the future. You know, it was way way inside my dad's writing that I start learning about contexts, you know, and they explain it from the very beginning. What's the importance of learning about context, you know, things that I spend so many headaches, and if I wish I knew these things before I learn it with a lot of headaches. But then if I had taken this basic training, I would have learned it from the beginning. They start talking a lot about, for example, memory usage, how DAX consumes memory, and what do you have to be careful of creating a calculated column versus creating a measure,
Sure.
because this will impact. And then you will say, oh yeah, but my data set is just 1000 megabytes and it doesn't make a sense. Well, when you start hitting millions of rows, this makes a sense.
Yeah.
When you have a project that has 87 million rows, these things start weighting it into the user experience. How much time the report takes into loading, how much time it takes into refreshing the data set, how much resources you start consuming. So I think that's the value that you get on the basics, on learning the basics. So I went back. I've learned some interesting concepts that I wish I knew before, because I spent some headaches trying to understand those. Uh, and then I think that it's always helpful to go back to basics, you know, and then you say like, oh yeah, I could, for example, oh, I is blank. I I always use like equals null or equals blank instead of using is blank. But then you understand that there are really different behaviors between these two, for example, and between these ways of doing things, you know. If you use a if, and then you can use that your expression equals blank, or you can use is blank and expression, right? It completely is, you can have
Performance.
different answers and performance, but also answers. So yes, I do think that it's very important, and I also see a lot of value people that already know their way into any activity to sometime go back to the basics. I really like that, going back to basics. It's nice. It's fun.
Always go back to the basics, and always one thing I picked from what you said is always go back to the basics. Always get a teacher who already knows the path, and therefore follow the teacher. That's the best way to be a master of any field. Always go back to the basics, get a teacher who is good or excellent in the field, and follow. And then you would actually, yes, you may be doing it like you said, you were swimming in quote, but for enhance performance and efficiency to avoid a lot of mistakes, go get a teacher and then cut some ropes, some mistakes that you're doing so as you don't hurt yourself in learning. Because there's a direction with following a teacher who knows what he's about. And
Yes,
that's a
that's
general life lesson, I'm sure, that you can always go back to the basics and get a teacher, even if you know how
yes,
to.
yes. And now you also have to be careful with teachers. Once you start learning, it is like, for example, that these guys Alberto and Marco, they are,
Marco.
come on, you know that they are good quality, these guys. There is, if you say like this training was done by Alberto and Marco, you have to, but you have to be careful with people who are not. Yeah, but
That
anyway, the community is awesome. There are people now. There is also another thing. It's about return, what I call a return on learning. I my mom would always say that she would not buy me anything but a book. So if it was a book, she will always say yes. So and it was like I put it the same in terms of I think that it's more costly not to learn than what you are paying for the training. I think
wow.
that it's always more costly not, or you're leaving a lot of money in the table. Because if you think, for example, the trainings of Alberto, they are not cheap at all. I think that once you start hitting the pay thing, because the first parts are for free, I think that is $300, which in certain countries can be a lot of money. Uh, but then I do believe that if you make certain trainings like well-known trainings, your pay raise will be higher, will become
I
higher. I do believe
agree.
that.
Especially when
So
you choose the right kind of training.
training, yes, the right quality, and you say like, oh my god, $300. But then if you get a job that pays you $50 more, well, in
For
six
the
months you already pay
you
for
have
your
paid up.
training.
You're a finance guy, so you're always looking at cash flow and
Yeah,
the
and
MPV of every project.
and yeah, and then you think about annualized returns and all these things. $300 is not that much if you can then make $50 more in a,
Much more.
in your
I
job.
get you. Or even get
So,
side jobs.
so I do believe that training pays off, learning pays off, and yeah, and basics are also good.
That's a that's a new term. Internal rate of return for what?
Return on
Investing
learning.
investing in learning. Wow. So that's great. So Mosca is saying that invest in your learning. It costs more not to learn, actually. So don't think that you're throwing money away, because if you had not learned, it would have cost you more. So always know that there's a return in learning, even if you don't see it. All right. Oscar, it's been a great interview. Now let's go to your newfound love and passion, which is the Power Platform community. Oscar is the founder of the Power Platform community. I'm amazed of what the Power Platform community is doing, and it has blogs of almost all the gurus I've interviewed, plus all the MVPs. And it's a great resource to actually learn Power BI and all the other Power Platform. So tell us about Power Platform and why you started it and the benefits.
So this is called PAUPCO, which is a short of Power Platform Community, right?
Yeah.
PAUPCO. So it, this started kind of a joke. I heard about Discord. Discord, this place for creating communities, this platform, which is a little bit like a Teams, but for open. Everyone can join to your groups. So it was fun. I just start and then I was like, yeah, it would be fun to have a Power Platform community, right? And that's when I created it and I started inviting people. I was just like, yeah, let's see. So people started actually joining the community, and then came Daryl, who he would be, if there is a co-founder, he would be the co-founder, Daryl, and he started saying, like, hey, yeah, but we can also do this and that, and the community
Which
just
what
started
Daryl are you
growing.
referring to?
Sorry,
Which Daryl are you referring to?
he's in the community. If you want, we can later.
Okay, okay.
Uh,
All right.
I can later give you the details. But and if you go to a community, we are only three admins. So one of them is Daryl, right? And
Okay.
so anyway, he started. We started the community started growing. Then we created a web page. And one of the things that we start figuring out it was that this PubCo was not meant to be a community. No, the goal of PubCo is to be a single place where you are trying to find something and you can go to Pauco and know it. So we
Okay.
basically have three areas, right? We have the community in Discord where we could talk about many things and then people goes with some question and other might try to help them. We also rant about things that we don't like. Yeah, this thing stopped working and then we also have a directory. This directory, so you can go to the web page and then you can say like, oh, today I want to know a blog about Power Platform, and you will find the blogs that talk about Power Platform. Or today I want to know a meetup for Power BI, and then you will go and find all the meetups that are for Power BI. And we are constantly adding these resources, right? So someone writes us, hey, can you add my blog? Yeah, sure. Hey, can we add my meetup? Yeah, sure. Hey, can I add? We are platform agnostic. We like, but we also like supporting new people. We also like supporting these new creators of content, these new people who is rising stars in the power. Uh, and the third section is the events calendar. So in the events calendar, we took the events from everywhere we can find them. And also it's like, oh, today I want to be in an event of Power BI and at this time you can find it. Oh, and then you can go and check which are the events that are programmed in the week. And probably
Okay.
you can say, I want this one, this one. So instead of going to 20 different
Various
pages,
sources.
just go over there and you can find the latest resources, but also the events, right? And
Wow.
if someone has anything, just drop us a line and we will add it either if it's an event or something. And then we also promote those. We also promote those in our Twitter, mainly Twitter and LinkedIn. So it's
Wow.
not only about there, but we also actively promote those. And yeah, so
Wow.
it's a Power Platform community. So let's
What
just say like it's a single stop place for everything you would like
what
to
a
go.
what a sterling career. You just started from finance, go into Power BI, just stumbled on Power BI, and now, Oscar, you are actually now the go-to place. You have a go-to place to help others also to become what they want to be. And I think that's fantastic. There's a lot of principles we can learn from the fact that you should always be willing to solve problems in your companies. And now you are not only solving problems in your company, you're solving problems in the world of power platform where people may not know where to start from, what to go, and you are bringing everything at a go in your power platform community. That's fantastic. And and this is being done by a person who was trained in finance and would know little or no IT training. That's
Well,
remarkable.
yes, but let's also say that I found people that are willing to always to contribute, and I think that's one of the things that I like the most about the Power Platform community. You find these amazing people always willing to contribute.
Wow. It's been an amazing session with you, Oscar. I hope to catch you later on another topic. Maybe go deeper into after you've done your DAX relearning and then look more into the Power Platform community. Hello, viewers. Oscar has been my guest. I'm sure you've learned a lot. Personally, I've learned a lot. I'm probably have to start some relearning, going back to the basics, and also trying to help the community. I mean, that's one reason why I started this channel, is to help people in my region, Africa as a whole, to help people to become what they want to be, especially when you want to go into data analytics and business intelligence. So kindly subscribe to my channel. It's been an amazing time, Oscar, and see you
The same.
some other time.
Hopefully, and thanks a lot for having me, and hope to see you soon.
Right.
Okay.
All right,
Awesome.
Oscar. Bye.
Great.